Where are we at now?
We're at Emma Frost and Scott Summers' house. They're really popular characters, so we came here first. Here she comes.
I can't believe that Jamie from the office is stealing paper clips. What? Huh? Who are you? What are you doing in my $14 million high-rise conveniently located in the center of Manhattan?
Quick, creepy girl, make her remember.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Magneto! Magneto and his horrible little groin spawn!
Yo, first Colossus tries to face off with head-to-head with the Juggernaut, gets pushed back, he gets up, and then Wolverine comes and they formulate a plan.
Hey, Risky, what we gonna do, bub?
Fastball special, now they're on the attack, and the adamantium claws, they go around his neck, and the helmet's off, all of a sudden they got...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rollin' 20s. We are the crew that accepted a paid internship at LexCorp's Biogenetics Division. I am Jeremy.
Steve, I still haven't got my damn powers.
And V.
Head engineer.
You can follow us on Twitter at rolling_20s. You can also send me any fan mail, suggestions, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. You can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library on the website at missionstarpodcast.com, on iTunes, and on Stitcher. Today we use a little clip from a show called The Venture Brothers. You can find currently on midnight on Adult Swim on the Cartoon Network. Think of it as Johnny Quest on the worst meth possible. We're still using the music of Adam Warrock. You can find his music at adamwarrock.com, as well as his latest stuff on Amazon. How's everybody doing?
Oh, pretty good.
Oh, for a second,
all things could be better for me.
I just got my feet back together from the Anime Expo.
Ooh.
Yeah, and could you imagine the horror? It's just, I'm trying to unpack all my stuff, and then there's a knowledge, and in about a week I got to pack half of it back up and get my ass down to San Diego. You know, I've just been checking out the maps and the schedule for that. I printed them out last night so that I could have everything, kind of plotted out for my weekend. The dealer's hall makes Anime Expo look dinky, I swear to God. And the schedule is 41 pages long.
Bah.
41 pages, and that's without descriptions. That's just items and people.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little bit weirded out. I also bought tickets to the Hollywood Babylon recording that weekend and the Walking Dead escape. You guys familiar with that?
No.
They're going to take part of the stadium downtown San Diego, Petco Park, and they're turning it into an obstacle course. For $25, you can be a runner. For $75, you can be a walker.
Interesting.
It is what it sounds like. I bought a $20 spectator just because, I need to be able to watch, take pictures, and I don't think I want to be caked up in makeup for an evening and really that busy for 5 hours. But I am very curious to see where this goes. This sounds wonderfully creepy. But in the meantime, I owe an apology to everyone out there. I know that the show we were supposed to do before the sex talk was more pop culture profiling. Unfortunately, after we recorded the show and as I was trying to cut everything together, I found out that the first show we recorded turned into nothing but a 5-second tone, basically, of an MP3. So, long story short, just about all the characters we came across, the ones who looked normal, were very lucky and very likely to get away with whatever the hell they were thinking of doing. Although we may have to revisit Toad, because for some reason that turned out to be one of the more interesting subjects we had that week.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I had actually, I looked up his powers on Wikipedia, and I was like, ooh, that'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah, but although I think after the sexuality conversation, I think that should be a regular part of the profiling, because that's half of the interest, is trying to figure out how these people would have actual personal lives if they didn't have supervillains to fight.
Right.
But in the meantime, yeah, Anime Expo is over, and there is drama abound surrounding it right now. The head of the cosplay division, he was escorted off the premises on day 4.
Ooh. Oh? Whoa.
Yeah, the thing is, the reports vary, because somebody mentioned it on cosplay.com, and Mark Perez has been very active there lately. He said that there was some word that this guy was putting out a coffee can, soliciting tips and taking them, that his department had mismanaged prizes, that some winners of the masquerade received only 2 old books of Cosmode in a bag. And for anyone that's gone to Anime Expo, you know that the prizes are usually much more substantial. Because Mark Perez spoke first, this guy decided to rebut on cosplay.com. His post has been taken down since then by himself because he's busy amending it. Apparently he's passing it by several people, including a lawyer and people to corroborate. Here's the...
man.
Okay, do you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Alright. Here's the funny part, though. I got a copy of it that somebody was nice enough to save, and I read through the whole thing. According to what this guy says, the cosplay department was so micromanaged by Mark Perez and one of his subordinates, Allison McKnight, that they just had no room to move. Their budget was appropriated before the for photo backdrops before the convention started. He says that Allison McKnight was in charge of getting the prizes, and if it wasn't for the cosplay division, like basically begging some vendors around acts, they wouldn't have had much of anything to give. So it's turning into a real he said. Unfortunately for Anime Expo, the statement by the cosplay division head is very detailed, complete with pictures.
Ooh.
Yeah, so, I mean, if he has even one or two people to corroborate it, this would make the senior management of Anime Expo look basically like tools. As if they haven't already, but, I digress.
Yeah. But at the same time, okay, now he was escorted off the premises. He wasn't arrested or anything, right?
No, they accused him of some kind of malfeasance and basically dismissed him before the convention was over. Although, it did come out that apparently division cosplay heads in Anime Expo do not last long since the mid-90s. Taking that position, a lot of people take it on and try and work it, but it turns out to be the kiss of death as far as their career within the SPJA. So, it's all grain of salt right now. I'm trying to figure out if I want to take what I've got and post it up for other people to read, considering he's amending this statement right now. But I will say, it was a long read, and it was very enlightening, and unfortunately, what he said about Allison McKnight, which is the woman who made that I didn't rape your baby comment on Facebook.
Oh, right.
His comments basically fell in line with what other people have discussed about her already, so that leads, in my mind, that lends credence to this guy. So,
I would say share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes in the next 3 months when board elections come up.
Yeah. So
I mean, if he was smart, he should have definitely documented everything. And if he did, if that's why he's getting a lawyer involved and so forth, then he's probably got a pretty good case.
No,
as far as
this statement isn't. This statement isn't just disgruntled rambling. When I say documented, he apparently kept a ledger, and his statement went all the way back to October of last year.
Oh, yes.
So I'm talking details. Basically, ever since he took the job, he's been keeping ledgers.
Smart man.
Yeah. But, man. If you want my full opinion on it, I did lay it out pretty cleanly in the Conover podcast this week. Because of the different time schedules, I recorded with one of the heads of this website by ourselves, and it's a lot of opinion, but it does look like dark days ahead for Anime Expo.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, opinions. I could be proven wrong if they can come up with a hell of a lot of money or cost cutting, but so far it doesn't look like it's in the cards. So we'll get right into, we got together to talk about the first volume of the semi-independent book Kick-Ass. I'm sure we'll get into how that differs rather wildly from the movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
well, I mean,
That was a brutal read.
the first half is the same.
Yeah.
Similar. Very similar.
Well, we'll get into that chainsaw pretty soon. Let me start with an announcement that came out not long after Anime Expo. There was some kind of episode or series of something called Little Witch Academia. And yeah, it's one of those moe things like you'd expect. It's kind of like the anime version of Harry Potter. But a Kickstarter went up 4 days ago for the second episode, and the goal was $150,000. It's been 4 days since that went up. They have 4,843 backers, and of a goal of $150,000, they have reached $374,218. The top donation bracket was $10,000, and it was limited to 3 people. There's only 7 left. No, I'm sorry. There's 3 out of 7. There was one that I swear to God was $50,000. There was 3 slots, and all 3 are gone. There's already 15 people who've pledged $2,000 or more. That slot is empty.
That's...
There's 246 people that have pledged $300 or more. if you people have this much money to spend, why aren't you starting a convention? I swear to God, as much as people go to anime conventions and subsist off like ramen and water, or not ramen, pocky, like frickin' ramen noodles and water, where is all this cash coming from?
I don't know, but I have noticed a trend of people. I mean, you can pledge however much you want. They don't charge you until the Kickstarter goes through.
Yeah.
And there are, many times either where, your payment is refused for incorrect reason, something's going wrong as far as Amazon being able to charge a card or something. Normally those get worked out.
But I mean, this is
cases of people that are just like, yes, I want this thing to succeed. I want to support it.
I know, but this is
$10,000, but I don't even have the money.
This is another Moe anime series. Where's the fervor for the Kickstarter to see Charlize Theron naked?
I don't think that's legal, so...
Where's my councilman? I need to talk to a politician.
Well, if she does it.
If she does it, you'll do it? What?
I didn't say that. Well.
Damn it! Frickin' Jedi powers don't work. I knew I went to the wrong booth. Has anyone here seen the Man of Steel movie?
Yes.
Yep. Not yet.
Wow, what did you guys think? I have trouble trying to convince myself to go.
Honestly, I thought it was far superior to the one that they did previously. I was a little upset when I heard that they were going to do yet another reboot of the entire series. It had its problems, but overall, I enjoyed the movie.
Would you tell me, a guy who's not a Superman fan, to go out and watch this?
I would.
No.
No.
Oh.
Not unless you really want to.
See, that's
I'm not a Superman fan either. I just wanted to go to see if it was good or bad.
Okay,
I enjoyed it, but I don't know that anybody else would necessarily.
That's always been my difficulty. Is I want, as a non-fan, people would think I just sit there and want to hate on the movie. I want a good movie, frankly. I want to be convinced otherwise, but it just never seems to occur.
Yeah,
when I watched it, all the way up until we put on the title, it's actually a very good movie. When you put the tights on and just, nah.
Wow, that's painful. Well, I found a website that says 6 DC Universe characters teased in Man of Steel. So apparently they are taking a page out of Marvel's handbook when it comes to movies and giving Easter eggs to things that may not apply. One was the LexCorp building that was seen in the background during a scene.
As well as a
tanker truck.
Fuel truck, yeah, tanker truck.
Yeah, there was, during apparently a scene in space, you found a Wayne Enterprises emblem on a satellite.
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, there was mention of Star Labs, which is a place Cyborg was, hatched or built or whatever you want to call it.
Missed that one.
When Superman is flying through Metropolis, you can see the sign of Blaze Comics in the background. That's the comics company that was run by Booster Gold. Yeah. There was a scene where Superman comes across an old Kryptonian ship with a bunch of cryo units, except one was popped open. They never really went back to what that was, but speculation means that could be Kara Zor-El or Supergirl running around free somewhere. And the sixth one was Carol Ferris.
Yes, I saw that.
Which
I point that one out to Steve.
It is kind of a curiosity, though, that they picked a completely different actress to play her for this movie. I mean, maybe they actually heard what we said about the last one.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I totally missed it, too, until the very end, and Jesse's like, oh, yeah, that was... I could have sworn it said Ferris on her, and I was like, really?
Yeah, I don't think they referred to her as Carol. I think they referred to her as something else, though.
No,
Carrie
just had her... They didn't refer to her by name at all.
No, they called her... Her name was
Ferris.
Major Carrie Ferris. So, I don't know. Maybe they ran out of money for the licensing. I don't know. A poster has been released for The Walking Dead Season 4. It's about what you'd expect of some of the title characters, Rick, Tyrese, and Michonne looking really mean, as well as the super redneck Daryl with his crossbow. I can post a link to it. It's one of those things where it's not necessarily news, but the show's already getting into its 4th season in October. So every time it feels like you're about to forget that show's out there, it starts back up again. And billboards for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are already showing up.
Ooh.
In a few places, it is just a black background with this pop-out symbol of S.H.I.E.L.D. on it. The bird in the circle emblem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's popping up in a few select cities. How much you want to bet I'm going to drive by like 3 of these when I'm on my way to San Diego? Christian Bale confirms that he is done with Batman, Justice League or otherwise.
That makes me sad.
He apparently, well, it's one of those
I'm sure
things.
they'll find good people. I'm just,
Yeah. As a guy that's watched all 3 movies, it makes me both happy and sad. It's sad because that means you lose part of your continuity. Someone's going to have to accept this new Batman in the role. But it does make me happy now that I'm no longer going to hear his impression of like a 9-year-old doing Clint Eastwood when he's trying to be Batman. Because I'm sorry, that whole,
I think it was at least partly the director's fault, though.
I know it was partly the director's fault, but you could have at least talked to him and said, I feel a little stupid doing this.
That's true.
It makes me wonder what his impression of masculinity really is. Then again, isn't he English or something?
Yes.
Welsh.
Well, okay.
Someone from the Great Isles.
Okay, so to him, like, a lot of strong men could actually sound like that after a few pints.
Maybe so.
That's all he hears.
I thought he was really good as Bruce Wayne, though.
He was a great Bruce Wayne, but his Batman was definitely rough around the edges.
I'll take that.
You make it sound like I'm trying to force feed it to you or something. Here, eat this crappy ass movie.
No, I
was about to say suck on this Christian Bale, but that sounded horrible.
I guess probably more, especially in other movies, but I am a pretty big Christian Bale fan.
Okay.
I love American Psycho and...
Hey, to each their own. I like to see Arnold Schwarzenegger movies just to see how bad his accent chews up everything.
I wouldn't be able to watch those movies for the same reasons. So.
Put that girl down, Two-Face. Yeah, that's about as good as it gets. Let's see. 80s and 90s TV icons are returning to comic books, believe it or not, in digital form.
Huh.
NBC Universal has teamed up with Lion Forge Comics. They're going to put out digital comic books based on Miami Vice, Punky Brewster, Saved by the Bell, Airwolf, and Knight Rider.
Holy
Airwolf!
Yes!
Half of those TV series brings me back to when, parachute pants were huge, people's hair was just tremendous, and everything was in Dayglow colors.
Yeah, I'm going to avoid Punky Brewster like the plague, but,
Let alone, that was also the period where David Hasselhoff couldn't afford a whole shirt. They were, always open down to his belly.
Wow.
But this... I don't know how seriously I'll read this, but I got to flip through half of these just for the sake of nostalgia.
Yeah, honestly... I wonder if it does well enough if they'll come out with a offshoot for TKR.
That's a good question. That was one of those TV series that I knew was bad when I watched it, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was...
there was some fun cheese in there. It was Expert Limburger.
Are you talking about Knight Rider?
Yeah, there was
Knight Rider.
Yeah, there was a short-lived TV show as part of that... remember when Hercules came out? It was part of a block of, low-produced TV shows.
Yeah, I tried to watch that.
Hell yeah.
Hard.
It's god-awful, but it's great. There's a new Wolfenstein coming.
Really?
Heard about that.
What?
Yeah, it was presented during E3 this year. Wolfenstein: The New Order. You're basically playing through a first-person shooter when that goes through what if Nazis won the World War.
Oh yeah, I remember having heard about this.
Yeah. So there was an interesting trailer release where you got this astronaut on the moon. Supposedly the first moon landing, where he's saluting a Nazi flag. But
Nice.
It's as long as the graphics are good, FPS are pretty easy for people to pick up. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sells like gangbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's too soon to predict, probably.
I think Antiques not really that good at first-person shooters. I never had the dexterity to do the dual sticks.
Okay. Did you guys hear there was supposed to be DLC for PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale?
Nope.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
Oh, man. Yeah, the game did not do well in general. It was supposed to be the PlayStation answer to Smash Brothers, and it wasn't even the PlayStation answer to Mortal Kombat. But it had some DLC, which would have made me at least curious to try and pick it up and play it a little. Because the DLC was supposed to be Abe from Oddworld and Dart from Legend of Dragoon.
Huh.
Wow.
There was some character models that were released, and apparently the DLC was canceled. It got fans in such an uproar, they're actually starting a petition to at least get the Dart DLC.
Yeah.
That would be pretty nice. I was just talking about that game the other day with somebody at work.
Yeah, you know somebody's dressed up as Meru at Comic-Con? Or not
Really?
Comic-Con, Anime Expo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Blast from the past.
Not even like regular Meru, it was Dragoon Meru.
Huh.
Wasn't bad, too. Maybe I'll link the picture.
Cool.
This, as a comic book fan, oh my god, I was in pain when I read this.
Uh-oh.
A man in England created a papier-mâché sculpture
Of?
Oh dear.
out of $20,000 worth of comic books.
Oh. That reminds me of that Venture Brothers episode.
No.
One.
No, wait. There's a statement here. There's a statement by somebody who walked by it, this guy named Steve Eyre, who's a comic book fan. He said, first of all, I thought, fantastic, as visually it's a beautiful thing. But then as I walked around it, certainly on the inside right leg, there was a cover of Avengers #1.
Oh.
I got a copy of that, which was published in 1963, and it's well worth over £10,000. Then I started looking, and there are 6 comics on this that together would be worth, even in the condition you see, £20,000.
Do that. That's
Lift
like
kick.
burning books.
Whip kick.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's made my comic collection worth more.
Yes.
Oh my god. I'm sure that there are people who are going to go stand in front of this thing and just cry.
Yeah.
Get around coming over there with pitchforks and torches?
Probably not. They'll just be in too busy mourning. There's some sad news this week. The founder of Giant Bomb and GameSpot alumnus, Ryan Davis, died. He was 34 years old.
Wow.
Unfortunately, nobody has said yet. He passed away last week. It's just one of those weird things where the guy's 34. He's very big in geek culture, but he's already gone. And the few pictures that are out there show up. He's probably fairly heavy set, so I can imagine a few things that probably killed him. But either way, this should be a life lesson to all nerds. Just because you can write really well doesn't mean your longevity will keep up with you. So everybody spend a little bit of time on a treadmill.
Get back to you on that one.
The creator of Resident Evil is coming out with his new game, The Evil Within. I have not seen the teaser trailer. I've seen a few still images. This guy has one of the most twisted imaginations I've ever seen. He's really trying to make video games that are just designed to make you wet yourself. I'll post some of the screenshots that were linked on Newsarama, and I'll see if I can get the video. But I mean, just one of these things, the face of what he imagines is one of these, I don't know, demonic nightmares. It's kind of like someone took a jack-o'-lantern, decayed it, strapped it around a skull, added some cartilage, and then let it scream at you.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that's the best I could describe it without getting very graphic. In other convention news, does anyone know about the problems the creator of Dragon Con has been involved in?
Mm-mm.
Okay, the CEO of the company has been accused of sexual assault on underage people.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah.
Child molestation specifically. Okay? And this guy has still been at the convention, and it's been such a point of contention. Several people were talking about boycotting Dragon Con, which is arguably the biggest geek convention in America, bar none. Well, as an update, 2 companies, Dragon Con ACE Inc. and Dragon Con Incorporated, or Dragon Con and Ace Incorporated have merged to form Dragon Con Incorporated. As part of that merger, the shares owned by by this man, Ed Kramer, were completely bought out. So he is no longer involved in this convention whatsoever. All I can say is, if people make such a radical move during a merger to get rid of you, somebody's probably got something on you.
Yeah.
So, nerds rejoice. Dragon Con is as clean as it could possibly be for a convention that's basically 2 hotels taken over completely by drunken nerds. You know, I don't think you want to do what that Spider-Woman in the corner is doing. Hasbro has bought a majority stake in a mobile game maker, Backflip Studios.
I heard about that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of moves by people acquiring mobile gaming companies, and I've never found mobile gaming to be much more interesting than about 5 minutes worth of my time, but there are a lot of people who exist on their cell phones these days, so
Yeah,
this could be a good
there's a lot
thing.
of people that don't play like games, like what we
Yeah.
would think of as games, but will play casual little dumb games on the phone. Which not to say that don't have value in entertaining.
No,
Yeah,
but when
for
you
like
spend...
5 to 10 minutes.
When you're like
Yeah.
the rest of us who spent 2 to 3 generations grabbing a controller and looking at high-def images, it is rather hard to move to this little screen and start poking at it with your thumbs.
Yeah, I don't think I could personally do it. But I try not to look down upon it.
Yeah, I have yet to find it. You know, if you like it, power to you, but nah. No, I need something that'll scream in my face and
You know,
scare me a
there's a
bit.
whole new meaning to the word game zombie.
But the other
Or playing with your pocket.
the other side of that is there's a lot of development more towards like MMO stuff on like iPads and other mobile media. It's not just phones, it's also iPads.
There is some of that, but, you know, I'm not much into tablets either. Let's see, in other nerd news, Greg Berger, he's the voice of Grimlock in the original Transformers cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
He has been cast in an unknown role in Transformers 4. Or at least that's the rumor. Some people are guessing it may have something to do with the movie, because the rumor is that there's this dilapidated truck that's going to turn into some kind of dinosaur later in the movie.
No.
A dinosaur?
Uh,
They hear you right.
Well, I didn't say that he was just going to be a truck and a dinosaur, but it could be something where, you know, there have been several of these movies where they choose alternate forms throughout the movie. So it could be that Grimlock is on his way to the big screen.
Will be nice, but you know what? I've almost given up on Michael Bay's Transformers. No, I have.
It's fun nonsense.
I enjoyed the last one more than the second one.
The
Actually,
last
I
one
did
was-
enjoy this last one, actually.
Last one was a pretty big step up, and it was very interesting.
The second one was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, but that was made during the writer's strike.
Yep.
I really don't remember it.
You're better off.
You're better off.
I assume that means I really didn't think of it that much. I remember kind of enjoying some action sequences. Except for the weird one in the desert.
Oh, God, that was way too long. Let's see. In other screen news, do you guys remember how during the movie conversation we pretty much agreed that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was underappreciated?
Yes.
They're coming back to the small screen.
It could be interesting.
They're going to be a TV series, or at least they're filming a pilot for Fox TV.
Okay.
The guy in charge is Michael Green. He's been known for superhero-type TV shows like Smallville and Heroes, as well as the Green Lantern live-action movie. So there's some good and some bad in there.
And they're going to Fox, so
It'll last a season.
Yeah, Fox.
generous.
Oh, you gotta admit, Fox's history with sci-fi is pretty weak.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
take
Even-
it back. It'll last 9/10 of a season.
Yeah, even good sci-fi shows on Fox don't last long.
You're getting
Firefly,
the same
anyway.
odds as Firefly, then.
Yeah, like I said, even good shows don't last long on Fox. Firefly, John Doe. I get the feeling you were something else, but honestly, I'm blanking on it.
There's several other things I don't remember. Well, Dollhouse.
Oh yeah, there you go. That lasted 2 seasons. If we learned anything, Fox does not get Joss Whedon.
Nope.
I think Joss Whedon has now designated Fox his arch enemy.
Poor Jamie Foxx. George R.R. Martin said that the Iron Throne you keep seeing in the TV adaptation for Game of Thrones
Yes.
is
I know the
nothing
story.
like what he envisions.
But
nothing.
he still says he loves it.
Well, he says he likes it, but I gotta admit, after seeing an artist rendition of what he describes, and he agrees is what it looks like, what is in this artist rendition is frickin' awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it's epic.
The description in the show is often that the swords of all of the kings of the day's enemies were melted together by dragon's fire into this one form, the Iron Throne. So it's relatively intimidating looking things. It really does look like a bunch of swords kind of jammed together and somehow stuck there.
Yep.
The one in the artist rendering is kind of like that on steroids. It goes all the way to the point where there's so many swords that they also form a dais of stairs leading up to the throne, which looks like this almost briar patch about 20 feet tall sitting behind whoever's in it. So that's intimidating to a new level.
And it can cut you up.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole thing they don't really touch on in the...
Yeah, no one is having...
I remember somewhere in the show, Joffrey does get a cut, but...
Yeah, no one is having sex in this chair. You know, the ass grinding alone would be terrible.
Ugh.
In more general nerd news, did you guys hear that there's the first color pictures of an alien planet?
No.
No.
Its name is really sexy. It's HD 189733b. 63 light years from here. And thanks to Hubble, we now have... or is it thanks to Hubble, or is it thanks to something else? Well, either way, this exoplanet, which is orbiting a distant star, it's believed to be a gas giant, and we now have bright blue pictures of it. It's estimated to be a hot Jupiter. It takes 2.2 Earth days for the planet to travel around its sun, so obviously it's hot.
Just a little bit.
But it's called a deep cobalt blue planet with raging storms of glass rain and super fast winds.
Ooh, that sounds pretty.
Yeah, so basically, you know, as soon as your sandstorm is kicked up in the atmosphere, it's superheated to glass, so... You know, I'd like to see a painting of these imagined landscapes. This sounds awesome.
I want a wallpaper and a right stat.
Wallpaper for your desktop or wallpaper for your house?
I'm trying to shut up, but I can't stop.
Yes?
V gets wet over hot blue balls. No, but I mean, it's interesting that we're finally taking pictures of places we can't get to yet. Because when you start taking pictures of it, it's at least it's possible for your imagination to start trying to figure out how to get there, in my mind.
It makes you want to get there more.
Yeah, it's like when people started imagining this whole new world that this guy Columbus was barking about. Nobody thought it was possible, but he had the imagination. He got there. So as soon as you can start visualizing it, I think it becomes more possible to travel to it. Let's see. We've talked before about how Marvel's big event for the fall is Infinity, where Thanos is coming to Earth and very few heroes are left to stop him. You know, maybe Luke Cage's ragtag Mighty Avengers, Nova. This may also include a reforming of the New Warriors. But there's already details coming out about what's going to come after Infinity is done, and it's called Inhumanity. The storyline is that the Inhumans are basically come to Earth and they're here to stay because their spaceship/city, Attilan, kind of wrecked after Infinity is done.
Oops.
New problem, though, is that the Inhumans get their powers by being chemically augmented by these things called a Terrigen Mist. You know, it kind of pulls out what's special about their genes. And unfortunately, as a result of Infinity, those get released globally. So all of a sudden, a bunch of unknown descendants of the Inhumans are finding out they have powers. Could be as radical as energy projection. Could be as minuscule as being able to squirt fire out of your pinky. But because they're Inhumans, somebody wants to kill them. So as you can imagine, you know, a world where superhumans are popping up left and right, that's going to keep every team busy.
Awesome.
So it sounds interesting. I mean, heading it up to start Inhumanity, the issues are going to be drawn by Joe Maderia. Anybody remember that name?
I do. I just don't remember what he drew.
Battle Chasers? Do you remember when the X-Men went through a very big anime influence phase?
Not well enough, apparently.
Okay, he was the one that basically redesigned most of the X-Men during that period. Maderia was big in comics for a while. His original series for Image, Battle Chasers, kind of fell apart because artists are notoriously late when they don't have an editor telling them what to fucking do.
Was that the one with the little girl that wound up with her dad's, like, big-ass battle gauntlets that gave her super strength?
I remember
Yes.
that.
That is that?
Yes.
Yep.
I was Yes, okay. That is why I remember, because I actually liked that. It didn't go very far, though.
No, only about 12 issues. Marvel Knights imprint is coming back. Marvel Knights is where they allowed some indie creators to take original looks at some of their characters. It's had mixed success, but they've done stuff like Jay Lee's version of the Inhumans, Mark Texeria's version of the Black Panther. Even for that imprint, Kevin Smith wrote some Daredevil series. The Knights are coming back, and they're coming in with new series based on Spider-Man, X-Men, and the Hulk. So, I mean, this is also the kind of places where the Sentry was started, and Madrox before it spun into X-Factor. So, depending on the exposure, these comics have led to bigger things. You know, at least this time it looks like they're starting off with the A-list stuff instead of the B-listers people might have heard of before. And at Comic-Con, Marvel's going to debut a new short film called Agent Carter. The lady who played Peggy Carter in the Captain America movie, Haley Atwell, she's doing another mini a la the Phil Coulson movies that's going to debut at Comic-Con, but it's also going to be added to the Blu-ray version of Iron Man 3.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, I don't have anything beyond that. Andrew Garfield has asked the question, why can't Spider-Man be gay?
Oh,
I read that article.
Okay, for those who may be a little unaware, Andrew Garfield was a guy who played Spider-Man, the latest Amazing Spider-Man film, did pretty well for Sony Pictures. He's just asking the question, why can't Peter Parker be exploring his sexuality? And he asked why MJ, who traditionally stands for the character of Mary Jane Watson, can't be, why does that have to apply to a female character? And, you know, I heard this, and of course there's the automatic responses of, well, you know, you're getting too far from the comics, and what's, you know, why are you even suggesting this? All I can say is, it's movies. He has a right to at least ask the question.
no,
I have no problem with that. My problem is it just sounds too much like a gimmick. Why change it?
That could be
question.
That could be true, but I mean, to be honest, this would be the one
like
place.
Publicity for me.
You know, I do think this would be the one place to play with it, though, because you know, comics fans would just freak out if Peter Parker was suddenly gay.
True.
You know, where else are you going to tell this story? Are you going to come out with a special issue? What if Peter Parker swung for both sides?
That honestly makes more sense to me than making a movie off of it.
yeah.
It would at least be cheaper, and if you struck out, then you wouldn't be losing quite so much on it.
What if Peter Parker and Wolverine weren't fighting in the corner? I'll leave the razor burn jokes for later. Yeah. Vin Diesel has hinted at a possible role he's going to play for Marvel films. We talked a couple weeks ago about how he was called in by Marvel Studios for unknown reasons. Even he didn't know what this was about. But afterwards, he put in a tweet that showed him in front of an Avengers cover that showed Giant Man on it. And he said, Marvel meeting today, only the people in the room can tell you what was discussed. P.S. Thanks to our page for pushing to make it happen. You know I get tunnel vision with my work. And after that meeting today, wow. So some people are wondering if he's Hank Pym, you know, based on the cover he was standing in front of, which doesn't sound much like Vin Diesel to me.
No.
The other suggestion was...
At most, you know, the newer guy that's went now.
Well, the thing is, though, he may have dropped a hint in there that some people didn't catch and others did. Some people are speculating that he chose an odd phrase to use in the middle there. You know I get tunnel vision with my work.
Oh. Yeah, I could see him as Vision.
It makes more sense. I mean, he's already robotic in half of his films. I'm sorry, I've watched about 4 of those Fast and Furious movies. I don't get it.
Seen them.
I've watched them because they keep coming up on cable. They won't leave me alone on TNT.
Oh.
And, you know...
I've only seen him in Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick.
I think the most...
I really enjoyed him, so...
Yeah, see, I think the most charismatic actor in all those Fast and Furious movies so far has been the 77 Charger he drives.
Well, the Vision might be a closer fit because when I saw Arc, I was thinking Wonder Man.
That wouldn't be a bad guess. I still I wish I knew where to lobby to put The Rock in as Namor the Submariner. I think he would fit that role to a T.
Would be quite interesting. I could totally see Namor doing the people's eyebrow.
Well, I mean, he's tanned, he's strong, and he already hits on blondes.
And he's huge.
Yeah, that helps. But, yeah, we've decided to do a little bit more peeking back at past series, and for this one I suggested Kick-Ass because I knew all of us had seen the movie, and I was aware that maybe 2 of us had read the comics prior. What were your guys' first impressions?
Brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, it was definitely... You could definitely tell that the way that they decided to go with the movie was for a comic, as in comedy, compared to the way that the comic decided to go about it.
I would say the comic was a comedy to start with.
Yeah, maybe I was influenced by having seen the movie first, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too, but I felt the movie was seen more like a heroic iteration of the book.
yeah, whereas the book is more like, we're kind of morons.
Yeah, to those of you that have not bothered to either read it or watch the movie, Kick-Ass is a story of a world with 0 superheroes whatsoever. But of course, like this one, they have comic books, they have influences, superheroes are stories. And one kid, at one point, decides to buy himself a wetsuit, put on a mask, and try to be a superhero. And that involves just about everything you can imagine. It works, but it really doesn't work. And the movie puts an interesting spin on it because it does go very big into the narration and the possible motivations of who wants to be a superhero. The comics has a little bit more to it because, unbeknownst to this kid, there's other people that have already had the same idea, but they've been training at it for years, whereas he picked it up on a lark. And they determined that the only way to really be a superhero isn't to tie them up, leave a note, and leave them for the cops. Their version of superheroics is shoot them in the head, stab them in the gut, and move on. So, as you can imagine, the movie was relatively violent. The comic book, given a chance for people to draw this to an extreme, is extremely violent.
Gory.
Gory? I don't think gory is the word for it. I mean, you could almost imagine someone dancing in this shite, man.
We're talking about, classic 1980s horror films gory.
I would say classic 1990s Arnold Schwarzenegger film gory. Somehow it always gets back to the Austrians. But, this was one of those things where, to me, the comic book made the movie, because this is a really interesting piece of writing. And,
yeah, I agree.
As much as the movie goes into the neuroses you would need to be a superhero, and, believe me, I understand that there's people out there that do a wonderful job, but superhero, you do need to be one neurotic SOB.
Mm-hmm.
This comic book goes even further into it. And, the way the comic book portrays it, and you guys can disagree with me, it almost seems like the most apt superheroes are the sociopaths.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Well, people that at least don't have family.
Well, I mean, the 2 of the title characters, Big Daddy and Hit Girl, they were the family.
It's true.
We saw how well that worked.
Oh, yeah.
So, did you guys finally see the Batman joke I talked about in, issue 6?
No.
I don't remember.
The one where Kick-Ass he breaks out of a chair.
Oh, yes.
You can barely see. One of the mobsters says, "You think you're like Batman, kid? You think you can get up, do 1,000 sit-ups, and do 1,000 push-ups every day and kick ass even when someone beats you down? Nobody's that Diesel." And then there's that little voice behind him. I did. But, I like this version of Dave Lewinsky because he is the perennial nerd, basically.
Yes.
He is.
Yeah.
He is both. I don't want to say harmless, but he does largely avoid conflict. He dreams of a better world, like a lot of us do when we're being put upon by people who think themselves better than us. And he wants to try to help people in the worst possible ways, and he finds a way to do it, but it does go down like you'd expect for a person with 0 training and a lot of ideology. Unless your preferred weapon, involves ballistics, this can't go well.
Yeah.
Frequent visits to the hospital, long bouts of therapy, miss school.
Yeah.
Plates in the head.
Yeah.
Everything's
Damage.
okay.
Yeah, his first real attempt at stopping a robbery went horribly wrong.
I
It
don't
wasn't even a
remember.
robbery.
It didn't go that badly in the book, in the movie, right? Or I mean, it went badly. But
Yeah, no, it went that bad.
hospitalized.
Yeah, it went approximately like that, where he was stabbed, stumbling around, and hit by a car.
One.
Yeah. This,
In the movie, it was only 2 guys, but yeah, he still wound up getting stabbed and hit by a car.
yeah. And, you know, the major difference is that the mob influences were much more vibrant in the comic book. You know, in the movies, it does seem like half of the movie is spent with these people trying to understand what it would take to be a superhero or just kind of working their way up the ladder. In the comic books, it really is just this gigantic organization that is pretty much coming after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Red Mist in the movie was almost sympathetic. The one in the comic books, fucking dirtbag.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to see that one in the movie.
Although, to be honest, it also took me aback when, rather than Big Daddy and Hit Girl kind of taking him under their wing in a way, it was, no, we're blackmailing your ass to come help us against the mob.
Basically, yeah.
Yep.
A lot more
I kinda
dirty pool.
Prefer that, but
It makes
in
more
my mind,
sense.
One of the more major differences was the origin story of Hit Girl.
Yeah, that was a huge difference between the comic books and the movie.
The story they spat out in the movie, complete and total BS.
Oh, I ramble on forever in these things. Why don't one of you tell the story?
So, put things simply, Big Daddy was just like Kick-Ass, except he has a kid and a wife.
Well, that's putting it shortly. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
I don't know if I can.
It might,
Well, for one thing, the guy was an accountant.
yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a former cop.
Yeah.
The former partner in the movie does make an appearance, but only because after he ran away with his little girl, then she ended up marrying the
Investigating
officer that
officer.
was the investigating officer that was looking for her little girl.
Yeah.
I
You mean-
honestly, I
you mean, Hit
I
Girl's
felt
mother.
badly- Huh?
You mean Hit Girl's mother. They never really talked about her in the movie.
Well, that's because apparently she got killed.
Right. In the comic books, she was still alive.
Yeah. And
Well, unless they are going to go that route in the movie, and it is like total BS.
It feels
yeah,
like
that would actually be a really big departure. If they keep the movie and the comics separate from each other that much, I really don't mind, because at this point it would seem like
heaping to suddenly make that kind of change in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, after finding out that this guy basically stole his little girl, raised her up to be a killer, just so that he could have his little kicks and make sure that she was special.
Yeah.
I really didn't feel too bad about him getting his head brains blown out and whatnot. I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah,
really bad for the girl.
Yeah, let's go through the steps in this, because I think we may be skipping around a bit too much. In the comic books, or in the movie, Big Daddy was a former cop who was framed by Frank D'Amico, the villain in both the movie and the comic books. He ended up getting out after a few years later, and explained the situation to his daughter, who had lost her mother to an overdose, I think. And, basically raised her to be a sociopathic superhero. In the comic books, Big Daddy was a failed accountant and comic book collector. And at one point, his life was so low, his wife had already left him. And he had managed to convince his little girl to run away with him. And he convinced her that in his briefcase was all this information that was going to bring down Frank D'Amico, the mob boss, trained her to be a lethal superhero. Think of it as Deadpool without the voices in her head. But, basically, all the information he claimed he had in his briefcase under duress, he admitted that all that was in the briefcase was vintage comic books. He'd been selling them to fund his superhero fantasy. So his entire
she never knew
backstory...
what was in the briefcase. He never told her.
Right, well,
she
the-
just assumed that it was money or something like that.
Right, well, the comic books did a much better job of keeping a few things for a plot twist. But, I mean, it turned out everything he told her was bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit. And all that was in the case was the comic books he would occasionally sell to fund his little fantasy, which had gotten out of control. and instead of burning to death, the guy just laughed at him, or Frank D'Amico laughed at him, put a gun to his head, and pulled the trigger. So Big Daddy in the comic books was not this semi-noble but, very aggressive character. He was almost a loser. Almost. The only thing that stopped him from being a loser was that all the training he put his daughter through was actually beneficial.
Yeah.
She helped her.
Yeah.
But only because he put her in that situation in the first place.
Yeah. And to give you an idea of how badly the comic books depart from the movie, or vice versa, after she knew her dad was dead, she knew Kick-Ass was her only hope of getting out of this with any sort of help. So she takes a vial out of her belt of this white powder, pops it and puts it to her nose, and Kick-Ass asks her, "What's that?" And she says, "It's a special serum it's a special powder that my daddy got from scientists. It's going to help me up my strength and my energy." And he looks at it and says, "Isn't that cocaine?" And she takes a huge snort of it and looks up at him with wide eyes. "No, it's a special powder by scientists!"
I couldn't tell if that was sarcastic or not.
No, it wasn't sarcastic. She was still buying her dad's bullshit.
Well,
She's
no,
still believing-
I just can't. I'm not sure if it was actual cocaine. PCP seems more likely to me.
Yeah.
Well, this was before the age of
Or it could be a placebo.
Well, this
That
is
too.
this is before the age of that that face eating shit. What was that?
Oh,
God.
Damn it! I was just
Bath
talking about
salts.
that the other day.
This is before bath salts.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh.
I can't believe I forgot that name. That face eating shit. That sounds so intelligent. But I do think that she was drugged, obviously, and I do think he fed her a line of crap because she was supposed to keep that as a last resort, and she used it.
Right.
But also the idea that as soon as she's whacked out of her mind, she turns around and says, "Now open Hello Kitty backpack." That sounds a little bizarre. And what does she keep in there? Frickin' flamethrower.
How do you fit a
Those,
portable hole?
those 10 guys waiting for them didn't stand a chance.
Comic books and everything. I'm not going to ask. But I
I
think...
was a little disappointed they didn't have the rocket launcher, though.
Are you kidding? In the movie, I was looking for Hello Kitty. I was curious to see if that would occur, because that would have been the most twisted thing I've ever heard of.
Now,
But-
there is the other major departure, too.
And what's that?
He doesn't get the girl.
Oh, God.
Which is like, I was like, no, in the movie. You would never, like, that's just creepy.
Yeah, that's a major wop moment. I mean, she's right. The departure where this movie takes a serious turn, and I knew that something was different, was that when, in the movie, when he confesses to the girl he's after that he's both not gay and a superhero, it worked out. In the comic books, no, sir. No.
that was pretty horrible.
I'd say the comic books work out closer to real life. When you admit to
Yeah,
her
I
that you've been
agree.
lying about your sexuality and you're also a closet superhero, I don't think she's going to be impressed.
And just think of what they were doing when she thought he was gay.
Yeah. Yeah, a little...
Like, you
little too
don't
open there.
not feel violated about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though, too. That I don't feel one bit sorry for her because, to be quite honest, she was taking complete advantage of him.
Yeah.
You don't do
That's
that
true.
even with a gay guy. I'm sorry.
That's
I
true.
agree.
It also didn't help that while he's masquerading as gay, she said, "If you were straight, boy," it's like, oh, thanks. But, not only did he not get the girl, but she pretty much humiliated him. If you remember at the end, he was getting, picture messages from her blowing someone else.
Yeah, well, he got one picture message as well as 15 abusive email or texts from her friends.
Yeah. So, his social life was pretty much destroyed. What little there was prior, because this version didn't have much by the way of best friends, did he?
No, he had four. Four that he hung out
He
with.
still the three in the three.
They're the guys that came up with the tunk curse word.
Yeah, the tongue thing running through the series, that was a fun running gag.
It only lasted kind of like that one
Well, like
issue,
three.
but yeah. To have it kind of mentioned in the beginning and then all of a sudden at the very end it's being used as they're fighting, I was just like, oh.
Yeah, she stabbed me in...
That got me to laugh out loud.
She stabbed me in the tongue.
No, he shot the guy in the tongue.
Oh, that's right.
And then she said, "Tunk you," as she cut him in the head with a cleaver.
Like that's any better. Like there's really any...
And he's just standing there going, "I can't believe it spread that fast."
That was funny. That was really funny.
But, in rereading the comic books, I do remember how much I appreciated this, because it is by no means meant for kids. It is very violent, but at the same time, it is such a vast departure from your average comic book series. Because it does do what the movie also does very well, is delve into what kind of special individual you would need to be a superhero, and how few of us could actually do it if we were put under the gun.
Oh, not only just that, but, well, especially in the comics, the mounds of shit that you get for doing that.
Yeah. But, I just wish the movie would have kept the surprise of Red Mist a little longer, because in the comic books they did a much better job of pacing it out and showing the surprise.
I kind of liked seeing his character development, though, in the movies, like seeing him.
True. But I will say that I've seen the ads and the few clips that have been released for the second film, and I am really looking forward to this, because I've read everything that's out of Kick-Ass so far. And the second volume, it looks like the movie is doing what they did with the first one. They're taking a loose take, but it's close enough where you get the same kind of feel. And I'm looking forward to the Red Mist returning as his new supervillain alter ego, the Motherfucker. That is not a euphemism. That is not slang. He's calling himself the Motherfucker.
Yeah. And I hope that was just some silly Hollywood BS.
That's the comic books, dude.
I know. I read it.
But the storyline is going to be that since the D'Amico crime syndicate went down, there's been a rise of superheroes in the city that Dave lives in, as well as across the country. And his city is just rife with superheroes. So when Chris comes back with what's left of his father's money, he starts raising himself an army of supervillains. And that's, in this world, what that means is you take anybody with violent nature and you give them a gun or a bat and you cut them loose.
Yep.
But it is going to turn into basically an army versus army battle, and, at this point in his career, it's not like Kick-Ass has a team to fall back on.
Yeah.
Obviously by the clips, he's going to meet one, but, will they take him? That's the question. But, it's one of those things. Well, first of all, I want to find out, would you guys refer this series to other people?
Yeah.
Just the ones that can handle it.
Yeah, honestly, it would be kind of like, oh yeah, you want to get started in comics? Here, read this. No, not at all. It'd be like exposing somebody that wanted to start watching anime to like
Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll. Yeah, that one just leaps to mind because I know somebody that did that, dumbass.
Yeah, but I do think this is a series for like long-term comic book fans, those guys that can appreciate where the plot holes usually wind up. This series does a good job at poking into those plot holes.
Or people that don't like comics because they think
it's too kiddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's words. A good point. Yeah, podcast, you don't need too many words. It's okay. No, that's a good point. This is good for people who think that comic books are just, geeky pastimes. This can appeal to general people. Grain of salt, though, because obviously you cannot show it to your underage cousins.
Yeah.
But, I do... Wow, I lost my train of thought. I would really bring this to someone who does argue that comic books just aren't a real entertainment medium.
Yeah.
And this does, like I said, I do think that this is something that's good for a lot of people who aren't regular comic readers to read, kind of like V and Empowered.
That was enjoyable.
Yeah, I do think this would be fun for a lot of different people. For those of you that are keeping score, though, yes, we are finally back from our vacation. And yes, next week we are going on vacation. Unfortunately, everyone here doesn't feel comfortable doing this without me, which makes me feel both sad yet special. And at the same time, I have to go to Comic-Con. Partly because of my responsibilities to Mission Start, and partially because, I paid $150 for my badge, and I'm damn well going to use it. Christ, I'm holding a stack of paper in my hand of the 41 pages of schedule and 8 pages of maps that I had to print out. And I don't know where to start with this, frankly. There's 3 Stylin Online booths.
You can start with a binder.
You know, if I needed asshole comments, I could go somewhere else.
But it's so much more convenient here.
That's true. I don't have to actually pay $5 for a Starbucks for asshole right now. There is stuff here that is kind of like crack to a meth addict when it comes to me. You realize that the Sideshow Collectibles booth and the Marvel booth are separated by 1 table? I'm going to be standing there like Wolverine caught by Magneto. I just won't know which way to go. You know, there's a Mattel booth, there's a CBS booth for crying around, Warner Brothers. Nickelodeon has a booth, Lucasfilm has 2 booths, Lego has a booth. Why the fuck does Lego have a booth?
Because they're coming out with a movie.
Yep. There is going to be quite a few movie. I was looking at it in Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, well, you know
what? A lot of trailers and reveals for movies coming up.
Well, you know what comes to mind is that you know how Anime Expo has trouble getting some of the bigger names companies to come to them every year? You know, they get a few every year, but it's hard to call them repeat customers. At San Diego, I was going through the map. Kotobukiya has a fucking booth. You know, there's all kinds of stuff here for, like, every level of my nerddom, and it's, you know, I am so glad this is not a video podcast because I have to place books in my lap right now. God damn it. This whole thing with Anime Expo still got me kind of twisted up because of what they did to this guy, you know, this cosplay manager. Even assuming what he said isn't necessarily true, I still feel bad that this guy was escorted through the lobby with what few belongings he was allowed to carry by security. He wasn't even escorted out the back.
Damn.
That just screams publicity stunt.
I mean, not just publicity stunt.
Or not
I mean,
publicity, but for the public.
I would call it, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that he's not a paid employee, I'd call it workplace harassment, frankly.
That's
you know,
true.
They made the guy do the perp walk through the front of the convention. The only thing that made it slightly better was that this was through a section of the convention center that didn't have, like, the dealer's hall and everything. This was in the other half of it. But still, it was in full public view.
Yeah.
So I just feel bad. You know, I don't know if he did half of what they claim he did. I don't know if management did what they claim they did, although I'm leaning more towards this guy's side. But at the same time, to force somebody to go through that before the convention's even closed, that's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least things are kind of... simmering down as far as I'm concerned. However, Steve and Jesse would know this. I know V wouldn't give 2 rats ass either way. I generally have a group of rooms at Anime Expo, even though I haven't been interested in the last while, or last like 3 or 4 years in going, because a lot of people ask me to go, and people are one of the most fun things at a convention for me to interact with. You know, the fans are the most fun, in my opinion. Anime Expo's been over for less than a week. I've had 3 emails of people asking me to write down their names for 2014. And, you know, I told somebody, I swear every year is like the last year I want to go or intend to go. But it seems like every year people are coming at me earlier and earlier. Do you know the first email I got was the first day I was back at work? I'm not complaining necessarily because I love these guys. You know, these are some people I know personally and I've been with years prior. But it literally is, you know, you guys do know that you have at least 6 months to you know, relax, right?
It just makes me wonder. I mean, to me, that just seems like maybe they're having fun at the expo, maybe they're not, but they're definitely enjoying the company that they, you know, meet while there.
You know, there wasn't many people I saw every day other than my roommates, but there was a few who were very big standouts to me. There was this young lady I had not seen in 4 or 5 years in Anime Expo, Carolyn Urban. She came to like every dinner. She is like 22 years old. Ball of sunshine she is, okay? She is just happy and perky. She cosplays every day. She's one of those. And she was just interesting to talk to. There was also one of my roommates, Leah Stevenson, walking ball of sunshine. You know, unbelievable. She is the assistant manager of like a chocolate company. She keeps offering samples, and I keep telling her, no, bad. I've lost like 20 pounds. Stop doing this to me. And then there's my wife over her shoulder. Tell her to bring like twice as much. Don't do this to me. Saw Stacey Shore, who I hadn't seen in 5 years. She's this French-Canadian lady. She brought her 3-year-old daughter with her, just adorable girl, but every time she got upset at her daughter, she started, yelling in French, which is both frightening and disturbingly hot for some reason. When I mentioned that in the middle of the room, she suddenly said, "Pourriez-vous que vous la chez soi?" I know I butchered that, but you get my intent. And I had her nearly peeing herself laughing because at one point I just talked about her French, and I went into my version of French people, the quickest surrender artists on the planet. And let's see, who else? I hung out with a guy named Jericho from Hawaii. He has almost perfect wrestling name, Jericho Bakani. You can almost hear the finishing move coming down. But he made his own 3D camera rig. He has his own website.
Nice.
And speaking of which, people listening to this, all 8 of you or whoever the hell it is, I am trying to put together a project because the last night I was at Anime Expo, I stopped at an Irish bar off of 6th and Grand. They have this incredible back room that I will see about linking pictures to this podcast because I would love to do a Cowboy Bebop shoot here.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a back room with a small stage, decent colored lighting. I could almost picture Spike and Jet sitting at a table while Faye leaned up against one of the columns in this place. And they even had these faux barrels of Jameson that you could just see Ed sitting on top of with a laptop.
That's pretty cool.
This place is awesome. I was talking with somebody about Durarara characters here, but somebody mentioned a hell of an idea. I would love to also in this place put together a large picture of superheroes in normal day-to-day clothes, going out to get a drink. And anybody who is interested, email me at mspfreight@yahoo.com. I'm starting to put out feelers to find out what it would take to use this place next year. But you can imagine you'll hear about that probably once a month as I try and put this together. God. So, anybody have any ideas for 2 weeks from now?
I'm not the ideal man.
That's right. You're the attractive one, Steve. Jesse's the angry one.
I thought I was the angry one. I still haven't got my superpowers, damn it.
Well, V can be the angry and attractive one. I'm a fucking troll. I don't know what the hell I am. But
I almost had an idea and it didn't come to me.
She's too busy being angry and hot. Let's see. Maybe it's time we got back into some current series, because it's been about, a month and a half since we've really gotten into that. And comic books move fast these days. Mm-hmm. That is something I forgot to mention, is that the beginning, or the prelude to the Trinity War, DC's next big event is coming through, where the 3 Justice League teams are going to try to kill each other. Mm-hmm. I almost felt bad for what happened in Justice League 22. Justice League of America picked up a new member to deal specifically with Firestorm, the new Dr. Light. And this poor guy was apparently, he was kind of one of those guys that was cursed with his powers. He absorbs light unwillingly. He's always sitting in dark rooms because the lights cannot be on when he's around. And when he confronted the other, the Justice League, Superman's Justice League, he was the one who actually tried to shut the whole thing down. He was the one actually arguing, aren't we all just trying to do the right thing? We shouldn't have to fight. Then he got too close to Superman, who's a living solar battery, and absorbed enough power that he just sent this accidental, white-hot bolt at Wonder Woman, which made Superman freak out to the point where he lasered off Dr. Light's head.
Oh.
Ooh.
And apparently, in the middle of this issue, it's revealed that Superman's being manipulated by someone. At the same time, there was that moment where I said...
Wonder Woman?
No, not Wonder Woman, something else. I think the Secret Society of Supervillains, or whatever they're calling it these days. But there was that moment where I said, wow, Superman actually killed somebody. Then they revealed in the same issue, it's a manipulation. It was like, piss. Okay, we're back to the same old. Superman's easily manipulated. Who knew?
He's a tool.
And then at the same time, I'm kind of sitting there reading all this going, I feel bad for Dr. Light all of a sudden. That's pretty messed up that the one, hardcore villain in this whole thing is the one going, you know what? This is messed up. We're just trying to do the right thing here. And he's the one who loses his head. The fuck is that about?
That's why you don't piss off gods.
That's why I don't read DC. I'm seriously trying to find a jump-in point at DC, but Trinity War is not it. That is way too much power floating around in one conflict. And I've said before how I don't like getting involved in series where the average power level is godlike frightening. Mm-hmm. That's a conflict that can't end without somebody being killed, but frankly, the way comic books works, who cares if they're killed? They'll be back in 6 months.
Or less.
Especially if their name is Gray. But I can't think of any other heavy spoilers. I know the next all-new X-Men comes out next week, and I'm really anxious to see if young Jean Grey has found her Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know what?
We could do X-Men.
I was about to say, let's just go through all new X-Men. We started this show discussing the first 7 issues of that series. As of next week, another 7 issues will be out.
Sounds good.
I'm good with that.
All right, V. I don't know if you care to read the previous 7 issues.
I'll just email me.
Just skim them. But I do think it's probably time to jump back into the currents, and all new X-Men is a good place to do it. Especially since in 2 months, Battle of the Atom starts. You guys remember what that was about? Okay, I like saying this, so let me go through this. The current X-Men are dealing with the past X-Men, who have come to talk to the Uncanny X-Men and tell them not to be dicks. But X-Men from the future come back to tell the current X-Men to send the past X-Men back into the past before it ruins the future.
Excellent.
My head hurts.
I know. As I was speaking, I was noticing my speech pattern was getting very Bill Cosby-ish.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
Yeah. The X-Men in time, it does seem like every time you wind a watch, an X-Man has appeared from the future.
Time travel, it hurts the head.
Yeah, but this isn't just like a summer event that has a mini-series and is going to tie in. It is apparently going to tie up like just about every X-Men book out there for 2 to 3 months solid.
Huh.
So this is a serious crossover event where they're actually trying to get you to buy more books. A lot of people would say, stop trying to make me spend money, but honestly, when they actually spread the story over books evenly, instead of just giving you a miniseries and giving you all these tie-ins to buy, it makes a more coherent story at the very least. I mean, think about what they did during the Fall of the Mutants, or Inferno, or the Extinction Agenda. Those were actual coherent stories. Then you come across things like Siege, and The Secret Invasion, which had miniseries, but then had all these other tie-ins that you needed to fill in the gaps as to what was going in these fucking regular series, or in the miniseries. So I kind of appreciate the spread stories a bit more. I think I just lost half of you. I don't know what the fuck just happened.
I'm backwards 10 minutes.
He's still trying to figure out the past X-Men for the future X-Men, talking to the current X-Men.
Yeah, and somehow X Factor's in there.
No, they're not. They're ending.
Oh, damn it.
I'm still sad about that, because X Factor was one of the most consistently fun books to read. The latest thing in there is Guido is Master of Hell.
Really?
Strong Guy is the Master of Hell after killing Wolfsbane's son.
Wait, what?
You have to read the series.
Okay. In any case, so does that mean that Puck punched him to get out of hell?
Quite possibly. I sense a retcon coming. But, so it sounds like in 2 weeks we will discuss, if not 8 through 14 of all new X-Men, we'll be discussing possibly the whole thing that's happened since, because, God, can you believe it's been like 4 months since we started this? We might actually have to recap.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that a scary thought? We have history.
It doesn't seem possible.
I still can't believe I'm in a podcast, so.
Yeah,
I still can't believe I'm married, so, go fig.
That's a little lit after 3 groin spawn.
Groin spawn? That's my new favorite term.
Jeremy's the one who came up with it, so I can't take credit.
Actually, if you remember, Floating Hand Studios came up with it.
Oh, that's true.
As a matter of fact, I will put that at the beginning of this podcast since I don't remember using a clip. You'll find out where that came from and why it's so indelibly drilled into my mind. But yes, groin, sounds better than crotch spawn. There's something about that just makes it sound like cockroaches are attached to my balls.
Chunky.
Aw.
Hey, at least I washed them, alright? Roaches are gone. Alright, so I invite you to roll with us again in 2 weeks when we discuss all new X-Men for the second time. I am Jeremy.
Steve?
No.
Shall we try that again?
No.
No, we're going to try that again because we need a proper fucking sound off. Wake up! I invite you to roll with us again next... wow, okay, now I'm fucking this up. This is not going to be fixed in post. I invite you to roll with us again in 2 weeks when we discuss all new X-Men for the second time. I am Jeremy.
Steve?
Hitting the hazard button.
And V.
Fuck you, Jesse. Thank you very much.
You know a nation's only good as its citizens. And if this is the kind of world we're living in, well then, raise a banner and close the gates and let the people see us declare a sovereign state. You know a nation's only good as its citizens. And if this is the kind of world we're living in, then raise a banner, put a hand on your chest, and declare yourself a citizen of Nation X. Hey yo, we don't want a war, but if you're